Have you ever looked into someone's eyes and felt like no one was there? They were looking at you, smiling even, but something inside them was missing. Not just emotion, not just connection, but something sacred, something unexplainable, something that made them feel truly human. It's a terrifying realization. One day, you wake up and notice that someone you love, a partner, a sibling, a friend, a parent, no longer feels alive in the way they once did. They speak, they laugh, they move, but deep within them, the light has gone dim. And the most haunting part? You can't always point to when it happened. It's like they disappeared gradually, silently, without anyone noticing, even themselves. We often think that losing your soul is something dramatic, tragic, or mystical. But what if I told you it's actually far more common than you think? What if I told you it happens every day, in ordinary homes, to ordinary people, and no one talks about it? These people don't look broken. In fact, some of them are successful, social, productive, but behind their eyes, there's a stillness that doesn't feel peaceful. It feels empty. This is the silent epidemic of soul loss, and it's spreading faster than we can understand. Today, we're going to explore the 9 hidden signs that someone has lost their soul. These signs are subtle, but once you see them, you'll never unsee them. They might be present in people around you. They might even be showing up in your own life. The first and most visible sign is emptiness behind the eyes. The eyes truly are the windows to the soul. A person whose soul is alive, even if they're tired, even if they're sad, has a kind of spark in their gaze, a presence, a sense of being there. But when the soul has gone quiet, their eyes lose depth. They might still smile, but the smile doesn't reach their eyes. They might respond to you, but it feels like you're talking to a distant echo. There's a kind of hollowness that words can't describe. If you've ever looked into someone's eyes and felt a strange, cold silence staring back, you may have already met someone who's lost touch with their soul. The second sign is a loss of awe, the inability to experience wonder. When we are connected to our soul, the world feels magical. We find beauty in the small things, sunlight through trees, a child's laughter, music that gives us goosebumps. But when someone loses their soul, life begins to feel flat. They stop reacting to beauty. Nature feels boring. Art becomes pointless. Music has no emotional weight. The heart no longer stirs. It's as if the world has lost its color, and everything becomes transactional, just tasks, just survival. Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt awe? When did something last make you stop and breathe and feel truly alive? The third sign is a disconnect from empathy. Empathy is the soul's ability to reach out and feel what someone else feels. It's the invisible thread that connects us as human beings. But when someone loses their soul, that thread becomes frayed. They might still say all the right words. They might act concerned, but the concern is empty. There's no warmth, no depth, no real care. They can walk past someone else's suffering as if it's just background noise. They don't get angry at injustice. They don't cry at stories of pain. This isn't always cruelty. Often it's numbness. But that numbness is chilling, because it means something inside them, the part that makes them human, has gone quiet. The fourth sign is a deep resistance to silence. Ask someone who's lost their soul to sit in stillness, and you'll see how uncomfortable they become. They'll reach for their phone. They'll fidget. They'll need music or noise or distraction. Silence terrifies them, not because silence is scary, but because in silence we meet ourselves. And someone who's lost their soul is avoiding that meeting at all costs. In the stillness, they might hear the voice they've buried. The voice that says, "Come back to me," the voice of the soul. Philosopher Blaise Pascal once said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone. And he was right. Those who fear silence are often the ones furthest from themselves. The fifth sign is obsessive attachment to the material. It's not just about wanting nice things. It's about needing them to feel like they matter. When the soul is gone, people try to fill the emptiness with money, attention, possessions, or achievements. They measure their worth by what they have, not who they are. They become addicted to buying, achieving, consuming, but it never satisfies, because the hunger is not physical. It's spiritual, and the material world can't feed a spiritual need. No matter how much they gain, it never feels like enough. And so they keep chasing endlessly, trying to replace meaning with things. These first 5 signs are painful to see, but the next 4 are even more hidden. Because they wear a mask of normalcy. They can exist in people who seem fine, people who are high functioning, people who even look successful. But underneath the surface, their soul is still missing. The 6th sign is performative living. This person lives as a role, not a real person. They're always on, always playing a part. The perfect parent, the ideal employee, the fun friend. But when they're alone, they don't know who they are anymore. They've lost touch with their essence. They have no relationship with their inner world. They perform for approval, not out of authenticity. They live to please, to be accepted, to fit in. And somewhere along the way, their true self got lost. This isn't healthy adaptability. This is spiritual abandonment. Kierkegaard said it best. The greatest danger is losing yourself quietly, as if it were nothing at all. The 7th sign is the inability to receive love. This one breaks the heart. Because even when someone loves them, deeply, honestly, they can't let it in. Compliments bounce off. Affection feels suspicious. Acts of kindness are doubted. They don't feel worthy of love. Or they've forgotten what love feels like. So they push it away. Or they sabotage it. Or they numb themselves so they don't have to feel the fear of being close. This often comes from trauma, from being rejected, abandoned, or hurt when they were most vulnerable. They closed the doors of their heart to protect themselves. And now they don't know how to open them again. The 8th sign is moral numbness. This doesn't mean a person is evil. It means they no longer feel the weight of right and wrong. Their inner compass has broken. They can lie, cheat, or betray and feel nothing. They justify their actions. They blame others. They act without guilt. Sometimes they even appear charming or charismatic. But inside, something essential is missing. Martha Stout, who studied sociopaths, wrote, "Conscience is the voice of the soul. When that voice is gone, anything becomes possible." And that should scare us, because it means they are no longer connected to the part of them that understands what it means to be human. And now, the 9th and final sign, the most subtle, the most dangerous, and the most tragic, the loss of longing. A soul that is alive always longs for something, not more stuff, but more meaning, more connection, more truth, a deeper relationship with life. But when someone has truly lost their soul, that longing dies. They no longer dream. They no longer hunger for growth, or beauty or transformation. They might still set goals, but there's no passion behind them. No ache for something sacred, no fire in the belly. Just cold, mechanical movement. They survive. But they don't truly live. At this point, you might be thinking of someone in your life who fits one or more of these signs. Or maybe you're thinking of yourself. And if you are, please know this. The soul may be silent, but it is never destroyed. It waits. It hides behind the pain, under the masks, beneath the noise. And it is always calling you home. So how do we begin the journey? Back, first, we must understand how the soul is lost in the first place. It doesn't vanish all at once. It's lost in pieces, slowly, through 1,000 tiny betrayals. A child who isn't seen or heard learns to hide themselves. A person who's shamed for crying learns to go numb. A dream that's laughed at is abandoned. One by one, the soul fragments, not from dramatic trauma alone, but from the small, quiet moments when we learn that our true self is not welcome here. Modern society doesn't help. It teaches us to prioritize success over truth, achievement over stillness, image over essence. We're told to move on from our pain, to get over it, to perform, to smile, to scroll, to consume. And in that world, the soul can't breathe. It retreats. And people call that adulthood, but it's not. It's just spiritual amnesia in today's world. One of the most overlooked truths is that soul loss often hides behind a polished surface. We live in a culture that rewards appearance over authenticity, where people are praised not for how deeply they feel, but for how well they perform. We have learned to become experts at survival while forgetting how to live. The modern person may go years without noticing that their inner world has grown quiet, their spirit dimmed, their capacity for wonder drained dry. And this soul loss doesn't always come from a violent trauma. Sometimes it grows from 1,000 silent cuts. Every time we betray our truth to avoid rejection, every time we suppress an emotion to fit in, every time we ignore our pain to appear strong, we lose a fragment of our soul. Over time, this fragmentation becomes so familiar that we begin to mistake it for personality. We say, "That's just who I am." But what we're really describing is who we had to become to survive in a world that didn't see us. This is especially true for sensitive people, for dreamers, for those who felt deeply in a world that didn't value depth. The soul begins to hide when sensitivity is mocked, when stillness is misinterpreted as laziness, when imagination is dismissed as unrealistic. Many people were not raised to express their inner truth, but to suppress it, to be what others needed rather than who they truly were. This leads to a kind of spiritual self-abandonment that feels normal because it's so common. But beneath that normal surface lies a deep, aching hunger, not just for happiness, but for wholeness. A lost soul does not only suffer emotionally, but spiritually. They may look successful, but they don't feel real. They may be surrounded by people, but they feel alone. They may laugh, but the laughter doesn't echo in their chest. And in their quietest moments, when the noise fades, they feel a question rising inside them. Is this all there is? That question is not a crisis. It's a calling. The calling of the soul trying to return. When we ignore it, we fall deeper into spiritual fatigue, a condition that modern psychology is just beginning to understand. Spiritual fatigue feels like endless exhaustion with no medical cause. It feels like detachment from joy, a disinterest in dreams, a vague sadness you can't explain. It is the result of living too long in disconnection from our inner essence. And yet, the very systems that exhaust us also teach us that rest is laziness, that vulnerability is weakness, and that pain should be numbed, not explored. This is how the culture of soul loss survives, by making numbness seem normal and truth seem dangerous. But the soul cannot thrive in such conditions. It needs silence. It needs truth. It needs presence. It needs sacred connection to self, to others, to nature, to something larger than ego. And reconnecting to the soul is not a luxury. It is a necessity. When people reclaim their soul, they begin to live differently. Their priorities change. They no longer chase empty things. They become more sensitive, but also more powerful, because they no longer abandon themselves for approval. They may lose old relationships, but what they gain is deeper alignment, integrity, inner freedom. Reconnecting with the soul also brings us back into relationship with grief. Not just personal grief, but ancestral grief, cultural grief, even planetary grief. We begin to feel things we were never allowed to feel. Sadness for our lost childhood, anger for the silence we were forced into, tenderness for the child within us, who still waits to be seen. This is not weakness. It is sacred remembering. And in that remembering, a quiet miracle happens. The light begins to return. Slowly, gently, like dawn after a long night, the soul rises again. Not because we forced it, but because we finally made space for it. Space for truth, for tears, for stillness, for love that doesn't need to be earned. And this is where true healing begins. Not in perfection, but in permission. The permission to feel again, to dream again, to long again, to be human again. Because the opposite of soul loss is not success. It's aliveness. And if you are willing to walk through the pain, the silence, the grief, you will find that your soul never left you. It was always waiting, just beneath the noise, the numbness, the rolls, waiting for you to remember. The soul is never truly gone. It may feel distant, silent, or hidden, but it is never destroyed. It can be bruised, it can be buried, but it cannot be erased, because the soul is not something fragile. It is something eternal. It is not a part of you. It is you. And no matter how long you've lived in disconnection, no matter how deep the numbness or how many years you've worn a mask, your soul still remembers who you are underneath it all. It waits, not with judgment, but with quiet patience. It does not rush or shame you. It knows the truth, that your absence was never a betrayal, only a coping mechanism, a survival instinct, a shield you built to carry yourself through a world that wasn't always kind to softness, to depth, to truth. When people lose touch with their soul, they often say, "I don't know who I am anymore." But the real meaning of those words is this: I don't remember how to feel like myself. And the truth is, you don't have to become anyone new. You only need to return to what's always been inside you. We think of healing as becoming better, more enlightened, more fixed. But healing is more about remembering, peeling away the false layers, the social conditioning, the performative habits, until what's left is something real. The soul doesn't demand perfection. It doesn't care how successful you are, or how many goals you've checked off. It doesn't even care if you're broken. In fact, the soul often finds its way back through brokenness. It's in those moments when we fall apart, when the mask slips, when the pain rises, when we finally admit, "I can't keep doing this," that something sacred opens. The cracks are not flaws. They are entry points. That's where the soul slips back in. You see, we don't lose our soul because we are weak. We lose it because we are human, because we adapt, because we learn to protect ourselves. And in doing so, sometimes we forget how to connect with the essence that once made us feel whole. But the soul does not take that personally. It understands the wounds that made you forget. It understands the silence that made you numb. And it is not asking you to rise overnight. It's only asking you to listen. You might hear your soul in unexpected ways, a sudden emotion rising during a song you haven't heard in years, a dream that feels more like a memory, a strange sense of longing when you look at the stars. These are not random. They are whispers, invitations, echoes. They remind you that the deepest parts of you are still alive, still reachable, still sacred. And this is where the beauty begins. When you realize that the soul never punishes you for forgetting, it only rejoices when you begin to remember. Some people believe you have to travel far to find your soul, retreat to the mountains, visit holy lands, read ancient texts. But the truth is, your soul is not hiding in some distant place. It is here, It is in the moment you dare to be honest. It is in the silence between heartbeats. It is in the tears you've held back and the questions you've been too scared to ask. You don't need to go out into the world to find yourself. You need to come home to yourself. And what does it mean to come home? It means learning to sit with what is real. The grief, the joy, the confusion, the tenderness, the contradictions. It means not needing to have it all figured out. It means making space for mystery. The soul speaks in symbols, not logic. In feelings, not formulas. It's not always loud. Sometimes it speaks through a chill down your spine, a sudden burst of intuition, a quiet inner knowing that you can't explain but can't ignore. These are the breadcrumbs. These are the signs that your soul is near. And once you learn to notice them, you begin to walk differently through the world. You begin to move slower, speak softer, love deeper. You begin to notice things that others overlook. The way the wind feels on your skin, the way the light pours through your window, the way your heart flutters when you tell the truth. The soul doesn't need you to be spiritual. It needs you to be real. Real with your pain, real with your past, real with your joy, and most of all, real with your desires. Not the desires shaped by advertising or society, but the quiet, sacred longing that lives underneath it all. That longing is the soul's compass. When you follow it, you are never lost. And yes, you will wander. You will get distracted. You will forget. But the soul does not judge the detour. It only wants you to keep returning. Sometimes we fear that we've lost our soul because we've made mistakes. We've hurt others. We've hurt ourselves. But even then, the soul does not condemn. It offers a path forward. It says, yes, you lost your way. But now you are here, and this moment is enough. The truth is, the soul cannot be taken from you. Not by trauma, not by failure, not even by time. It can be silenced, but it can always be found. And every time you listen to your body, express your truth, or forgive yourself, you are taking a step toward reunion. Every time you rest when you're tired, instead of pushing through. Every time you cry, instead of numbing. Every time you reach out, instead of withdrawing. These are sacred acts. These are moments when the soul returns, piece by piece, breath by breath. So if you're reading this and you feel far from yourself, I want you to know there is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not too far gone. You are simply in the space between forgetting and remembering, and that space is sacred. You are closer than you think. The fact that you're even longing for reconnection means the soul is already knocking, already calling, already moving in your direction. All you need to do is slow down and open the door. It might not happen all at once. Healing rarely does. But even the smallest act of soul remembrance, a deep breath, a vulnerable conversation, a few minutes of stillness, can start a transformation. And once it begins, your life will never be the same. Because once you feel your soul again, truly feel it, you will never want to live without it. You will stop settling. You will stop hiding. You will stop apologizing for your truth. You will begin to live, not from fear, but from presence. Not from survival, but from essence. And in that shift, your entire world changes.